libraries. For me, growing up, the place to be. All right, let's see. My displays are called Mental Health, so we'll touch on why that is and what I've done since I was a kid. First thing, I'm going to read from this book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Does anybody know who Rick Rubin is? Record producer, co-founder of Def Jams. He's produced like Metallica. Really cool dude. He looks like a Yoda, is what he reminds me of. This giant white beard and scraggly hair. And speaking of Rick Rubin, he actually has a pair of grip ball dumbbells that I used to make back in 2008. So it's just been, for me, it's been an incredible ride to come from a small town, make these things, come up with the ideas, make them, and then the connections that have just kind of happened. So everyone is a creator. Those who do not engage in the traditional arts might be wary of calling themselves artists. They might perceive creativity as something extraordinary or beyond their capabilities, a calling for the special few who are born with these gifts. Fortunately, this is not the case. Creativity is not a rare ability. It is not difficult to assess. Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's our birthright, and it's for all of us. Creativity doesn't exclusively relate to making art. We all engage in this act on a daily basis. To create is to bring something into existence that wasn't there before. It could be a conversation, the solution to a problem, a note to a friend, the rearrangement of furniture in a room, a new roof home to avoid a traffic jam. What you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in glass for it to be a work of art. Through the ordinary state of being, we're already creators in the most profound way, creating our experience of reality and composing the world we perceive. In each moment, we are immersed in a field of undifferentiated matter from which our senses gather bits of information. The outside universe we perceive doesn't exist as such. Through a series of electrical and chemical reactions, we generate a reality internally. We create forests and oceans, warmth and cold. We read words, hear voices, and form interpretations. Then, in an instant, we produce a response. All of this in a world of our own creation. Regardless of whether or not we're formally making art, we're all living as artists. We perceive, filter, and collect data, then curate an experience for ourselves and others based on this information set. Whether we do this consciously or unconsciously, by the mere fact of being alive, we are active participants in the ongoing process of creation. To live as an artist is a way of being in the world, a way of perceiving, a practice of paying attention, refining our sensitivity to tune into the more subtle notes, looking for what draws us in and what pushes us away, noticing what feeling tones arise and where they lead. Attuned choice by attuned choice, your entire life is a form of self-expression. You exist as a creative being in a creative universe, a singular work of art. That's pretty awesome. So, I love work. I love doing the work. For me, that process is just something that I've always done. Did I know I was creating art when I first started? I didn't. I just did. I gravitated to certain things. One thing was health. And when I was 14, I discovered these gems here in my dad's bookcase. They're Joe Weider muscle building lessons, 1 through 7, from 1957. These were gold for me. This was life-changing, and nobody pushed me. They didn't show me them. I just discovered them, which is part of the process for me. That's why I love libraries, because every book, everything you see is just a new experience waiting to happen. And then you take it in, and then, like Rick said, what comes out is how you see it. Not everybody sees it the same way. But definitely a turning point was this. I discovered as a 14-year-old that I could choose to do something with my body, make it change by doing these exercises. And something I never experienced before. I was always an active kid. As a kid from the 80s, anybody from the 80s, you had to be active. You were told to get out of the house and come home when the street lights came on. It was a fun time. And so that was kind of a catalyst for exercise and being aware of health. And not too long after, at 16, is when I started working at a machine shop as a draftsman. I actually drew blueprints for a machine shop where they could make parts. Kept training, worked in a metal shop. I saw them making things. I was drawing them. I want to make my own stuff. So I started making bicep benches and flat benches and selling them through the Quad City Times newspapers before there was the internet. So I also always had an enterprising part to me, which I owe that to having a paper route. Again, something maybe the younger generation doesn't know, but from age 11 to 16, I would get up every single morning by myself, 5, 6 a.m., and go deliver papers. And that was about an hour process where more physical activity for me. I got to ride my bike all over the place. It also taught me work ethic. You know what I mean? I get up, I don't want to do this, right? Who's ever said that? Clean your room, I don't want to do that. Well, you had to do it. There was no, oh, I'll do it another day. People were waiting for their papers, so that was a good way for me to kind of take that entrepreneurial side and know that the work I put in, I get out. So the muscle building lessons, the drafting, and then making my own stuff. I made a power rack and other things for myself to train with. And also at 16, I've always gone to libraries. Again, one of my safe places. Anybody familiar with Davenport, the Quad City Times? I would go pay my bill downtown Davenport, and then I would go to the Davenport Library. I would go to the Exotic Coin comic shop, buy some comics, go to the library, major art and hobby, all in that same area. And I also loved to draw as a kid, like Dawson's age or younger. Drawing was something I just spent hours doing. How-to books in my elementary school. You get the book, and I could sit down and just draw and draw and draw. It was that ability to stick to what might seem mundane, right? I didn't need to be excited all the time, or I didn't need to be engaged. I just knew that this task was something I wanted to do. So I would sit, I would draw for hours, I would train for hours, I would do all these things, and it just kind of set the groundwork for what has come 30 years later. Kids, I've always loved kids. I have a few here tonight. Anybody want to raise their hand who wants to claim me as dad? I love you guys. And timing, spending time. Everybody gets 24 hours in a day. A lot of excuses for whether I can't exercise, or I can't paint, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. I feel as though my groundwork I didn't allow myself to have excuses. So today, with 9 kids, and kids for the last 30 years, you have distractions. You have things that you still do. And so if you're passionate about something, you find the time to do whatever it is that pulls you to do it. Mine, again, was strength training, and I did that a lot of times after hours. When everybody was in bed, I would go work. When I worked second shift, I would get home at 11, everybody's sleeping, I would stay up till 2, 3 in the morning, then I would get up at 7, be there for the kids, and continue that process. So finding what you love it's a journey, and you don't know what that is unless you try things. So with today's world and all the information we've got at our fingertips, see things, bring that knowledge in, and then test it out for yourself. Have fun with it and enjoy the process. I got to touch on books again because it's been one of my just constant things in my life. Here's some of the big ones. So when I was 16, here's another thing. I was an extremely shy and introverted kid. So getting up and talking was not something that I would ever seek out to do. And I didn't know why. It was I don't know what, maybe anxiety is what it's called today when people get, I probably had debilitating anxiety, but I didn't know why. I didn't know what it was, so I would seek out things, and books were one of them. The Magic of Thinking Big was like a huge book for me at 16. It changed a lot of ways I see things. Believe and Achieve is another one. So at that young age, I discovered what self-help was. You know what I mean? Nobody said, hey, you need help. Hey, there's a self-help section. I didn't know that, but I knew there's a card catalog, and I just thought of things and looked it up and looked it up. Now it's on our phones. It's crazy. Thomas Paine's Common Sense, another life-changing book for me, and then Viktor Frankl's The Man's Search for Meaning. Just, I don't know how, as humans, we change our perspectives or minds without taking information in. And in today's world, with everything so quick and TikTok-y and just these blasts of really nothing, how do you change what's happening? How do you perceive things? It's tough. I would say it's tough. So one of my just kind of messages that I've always done is read books, communicate, talk to people, and seek out information. Health, that's a personal thing for me. I always felt better when I felt better. I've been sick, and everybody's been sick, and it's like, oh, I don't want to ever do this again. And the next day you feel better, you're eating donuts. It's our brains is so easy to just say, I'm better now. So I chose to stay on this lifelong path of just kind of the same thing. There's transformation was a word that I thought of when I was going to present here. I'm like, art is transformative, right? We can look at it and see it. We have reactions to it. Storytelling, music is all these things, all the arts, they do something to us as individuals. We like different things, but they transform us. They allow us to see things differently. And so as I'm thinking now, 51 to when I was a little boy, I love the word transformative, but I still feel like I'm that same kid. My perspectives have changed, but I kind of love the same things. I still do the same things. It's just this lifelong journey of real singularity, but the way I see things and do things is a little bit different. So thank you all for being here. My mental health strength art, I thought that would be a good way for me to display what I've done for the last 30 years and then tie it into to art, because at some point, like what Rick was saying, we're all creators, but I definitely didn't feel like that. I just felt like, okay, I was doing this, I was hustling, trying to put food on the table. So you just do what you can, but somewhere along the way, everything that I've done, whether it's books or movies, I've taken it in and I've kind of melded it with another one of my passions, which was strength. So believe it or not, what I do in that world is pretty unique. There's not many people that are doing what I do, and it's gotten me in front of some pretty cool people. In 2015, the World Arm Wrestling League commissioned me to do trophies for them, and it was like what's a sport trophy? Heisman Award or the Super Bowl? Sports. I like sports, but I'm not like a team guy. That's another kind of thing for me is I've never been able to take one side. So not that I felt alone in the world, which I like that, but I don't relate to, all right, we're the Bears or we're the whatever that thing is, whatever that team is. I like it all. I want the winner to win, and Where was I? All right. Arm wrestling awards. So that was awesome when they contacted me to make these trophies that were going to be iconic for arm wrestling. And for 5 years, I made them, and they were on ESPN, which is really cool. I met Steve Kaplan, who was the millionaire that put it together. Super awesome dude. Some other kind of lines that had just happened was the Atlanta Falcons. They commissioned me to do some stuff for their training room. I made this giant battle axe that they use for a challenge thing, and a set of Thor hammers where they could do weight stuff with. That was fun. The Legend of Mick Dodge. Anybody heard of him? It's an older show. It was on National Geographic Channel. It was an old Marine. The show followed him in the woods, the Olympic Mountains, the woods. He lived there. He was called the Barefoot Sensei. He would walk around with bare feet and just do everything in the woods. He had reached out, and he's got a few of their things. That was kind of fun when I got that call, because as far as you knew by the TV show, he didn't have a phone or any contact with the world, but he does have base camps. Real cool dude. Nature and Michael Clark Duncan, the late actor Michael Clark Duncan from The Green Mile. He reached out many years before he died and got a mace from me. It was kind of cool talking to him on the phone. When you hear that voice that you've seen in movies, you're like, oh, I know who this is. And these are all just kind of threads that just happened. I never did much marketing. I would always just make stuff, try to get some sleep, go to work. I worked in a machine shop for 20 years, 10 years, 2 different places. Been able to do what I do now for 15 years. So this is my 15th year of not going to a job. So that feels pretty good. When we're younger, we chase success and we're trying to make a buck. And really, the reward for me is just being able to do my own thing and being there for family. So our ideas of success change, but the work that goes in, it remains the same. Like what I'm doing now is what I did 30 years ago, and I'll be doing it for another 30 years. Along with trying new things. Having this art display here is really satisfying for me. One, to be in the library, because I love libraries, and two, just being able to express in a different way. Yes, all those things can be used to get strong and healthy. I don't know if anybody's read this stuff, but like the lightning bolt, the Thor hammer, and the base, the hammer comes off and you can use it. The lightning bolt comes off and you can carry it. And then the base is a shield that you can do exercises with. So it's always been I had an idea to make things useful. Like the awards for the World Arm Wrestling League, they were trophies, but those guys could use them. They could strength train and get stronger using it. So I like the idea of like usable art. I love paintings. I love. They inspire me. And so seeing something is one thing, but then seeing it and then picking it. Picture going out with a painting, you pick it up and you just leave it there and you look and you get your inspiration from it. But I'm a tangible guy. I like to touch things. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask me about the process or what is displayed out there? Or
how long does that take to make those?
Anything in specific?
I mean, like one of the hammers or
Okay.
Or the lightning bolt specifically.
Yeah, that. So when Jeanette asked me if I wanted to display some things, it was super simple. We're going to do a hammer, I got another hammer, and I got this. Then I'm like, oh no, I can't just set them on the table. There has to be something to transfer them into art, more than just there. So that's when I've got a couple sketches I should have brought. That's kind of how I work. If I have an idea for something, I'll sketch it out, and then I'm able to go to the shop and make it into reality. But the lightning bolt was probably maybe a 10 to 12 hour process. Yeah, and then, unlike like blueprints and what I'm used to, with art, with creating something, you don't know what it's going to be yet. It just happens as you're doing it. And the longer you do something, the quicker it can be done, because now you can call upon all the skills you've done. And so what could have maybe taken 20 or 30 hours, I was able to do it a little bit shorter. And that's where I suppose the masters come in. Lifelong painters, whatever, they can paint stuff pretty amazing and quick because of all the years they put in. Thank you, Jake.
Do you use, like, what gauge steel do you use? That kind of varying depending on what you're building, or is it?
It really does, yes. And that's an interesting question, because I've got some other ideas that I want to bring to life, and they're going to be a larger scale, so I definitely will be using thinner sheet metal. If it's something that's going to be vigorously used, it'll be a thicker gauge. But otherwise, yeah, probably a thinner gauge if I'm going to turn it into something like a dragon or something other than a usable piece. Yes, Mark?
How much scrap metal do you use? I mean, do you go after certain things? How much of that do you utilize?
The metal acquisition, that's one thing I love working at a machine shop is the scrap dumpsters. There's all this, it'd be like an artist with markers and pens and paints, and they go and there's all these things they can just grab out and use. So I've got a couple sources for metal. The marketplace, there's a lot of times people have metal on there. There's places where I get new metal, but yeah, like for someone, I could literally see anything and then turn it into something. So if I come across a cachet of something that somebody had, or whether it's scrap metal or some other device. Yes?
So do you have a process where you have to hammer things and stuff like that, or is it pieces that you cut and put together?
A little bit of everything. I do heat stuff up and hammer it into place. Plasma, torch, TIG, MIG, anything involved with the metal process, I kind of am able to use. Yeah. Any artists in the crowd? Yes, yes. As Rick says, we're all artists. It's something that it's just a name. We may not know it or feel it, but rearranging a room, we do it how we want to, and that's different than what somebody else would do. And to enjoy that process. Yes.
I work with wood.
Yes.
And in the winter time, I like making a special project where there's something utilitarian.
Right.
So this winter, I made, well, you might call it a xylophone. I think it's Robin Stevens was.
Sure. Yeah, we all know that.
Last winter, I made a player guitar.
Yes. Yes.
Those are some of the things
And absolutely, and that's art, and that's like, again, for me, making like functional things has been fun, and I found a crowd that likes that, although not a big crowd, but a crowd that likes that. It's also, I'm excited to do things that aren't utilitarian and are just visual things that you can look at. Yeah. And the more a person like gathers skills, wood, metal, resins, you name it, then you can start to combine them too, and new things come from it. It's not always just one, hey, it's a painting. Now you can add different things to it, and now it's something more than that, or something different that hasn't been seen yet.
We're trying to get him to do a concept for one of our outdoor pieces. Because currently, if you are outside the library, money they can handle. That's through artists from the Quad Cities, in that area. So we're really hoping at some point to add a local artist, which Grand Mountain is very local to it, of course, to our outside art. The same as our inside. If you look at our inside art, currently, I would say about half our art is local artists. So we really hope that Ryan brings some interest to maybe our outside art, to bring local art into sculpture. Again, different art by local artists, because currently all of our local artists are painters.
Yes, no, I'm super excited about that.
So that's what we're hoping. So if anyone has any in, we need that.
The nudge me? No, I will be making time for that, I will. Even if it means less sleep.
By the way, we've only been asking him for a year.
That's been no long, has it? Time, what is it?
That's an artist statement right there. That is an artist statement, which by the way, this is also the only artist reception of the artist has read from the book. You're absolutely our favorite.
It's really just a part of like what I do. Everything. Books, it's, yeah, massive.
Well, and I will say as a library director, I've only been in Dewitt in July, it'll be 4 years, but no one in Dewitt's ever heard of you.
Yes.
And I'm like, how do you be this cool of an artist and no one's heard about you?
Here's how.
No one's
The
talked
internet.
about you.
The internet.
And no one's talked about you locally.
So for 30 years, making stuff and then selling through the internet, and then with kids at home and not being able to do any outreach, you have a place where I grew up that doesn't know who you are, but everywhere around the world kind of knows.
It just boggled my mind. I was like, all right, we're gonna change this. This is really, really cool. And people in Dewitt need to know about our Dewitt and the surrounding community, that we really have something really cool and make really cool art that is totally different. I'm trying.
And I'm trying to get better at that too. Because before, like even what I'm doing now, I always revert back to just doing my thing, introvert, and so advertising, marketing, tooting my own horn was something that just, it wasn't something that I enjoyed, but I've come to the realization where if I don't, nobody else will. So
That's why
as
you're
you can
not knowing
see,
your own
right,
community.
I've got a Ryan J. Pitts Presents because I got so many kind of interests that now it is me, it's got my name, and then whatever I come up with, I'm gonna own it.
Well, I feel very fortunate that we get to be the first place to really display in our own community. We've had a lot of folks come in. We did have a sign, and I have great staff. They did take down the sign that said, if you aren't Thor, don't try to pick up the hammer. Because
Pretty touchable, yes.
it is, but we have a lot of kids in here, and we teach them all, don't touch the art.
Yes.
Because we do have other artists who do get very touchy about
Right,
people
right.
touching their art, and most art is not touchable. And so we do want to keep that in mind, but also, I'm not picking that up if it gets knocked over. I'm just saying that right now. And nor damaging the floor, because that looks really heavy.
Yes,
But we feel very fortunate that you allowed us to be the first place that you've been able to display here.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of folks have come in, and I know they've watched the videos that we are shared online between us and you. Because it's just, again, really interesting and very different from what people think of art. And when they think of sculpture, they're more like the girl out here. They don't understand, maybe the water, I don't know. We're wondering what that was, the water. But
Each of them evokes different things.
it absolutely does. So if you have an in, we need it. Because I would love, because we already have, of course, the cement pads for more permanent art out there. Because currently we only are able to lease the art. So we would love to have permanent local things. I'm going for a dragon. I told him I'll go dragon.
Yes, I trust me. That's where my mind has been. It's gone through many different visions of that. So I'll get them written down and bring to you.
So maybe if you were a really good art audience will let you touch his art out there. And since the artist is here, if he lets you touch it, it's okay. Librarians won't let you touch it. Librarians won't let you touch it. But the art. I know that the kids love the designs and how you do the design. I'm surprised some of them haven't alert you at home. Because some of them would. About the designs and things that are on the metal itself.
Yes, yes.
And thank you.
Yep, thank you. I also make pickle wraps and bacon wrapped dates and pecans for anybody.
Help yourselves.